The truth occurs.
Hi everyone. Well, I wanted to talk to you about Obama. Some of the stuff I'm going to tell you about might sound really, really far out, but hear me out because I think there could really be something to this. So I'm going to first of all start with the stuff you probably already know about, and then I'm going to get into some of the other stuff. So first of all, there's the birth certificate. I mean, you know, officially he was born in Hawaii, but then his Nana said he was born in Kenya, and that started this whole thing. And then at one point, after the White House released Obama's supposed long-form birth certificate, the Sheriff Joe Arpaio of Maricopa County was asked by citizens to investigate this thing. Well, he hired this document analyzer expert, Reed Hayes, to look at this birth certificate, and Mr. Hayes said without a doubt it was a forgery. Okay, but I'm not here to have like a big birther discussion with you about this. I'm going to go in a different direction. So while people are discussing about whether he was born in Kenya or he was born in Hawaii or whatever, meanwhile, CIA DNA test reveals Barack Obama was adopted. His mother was supposedly a woman called Stanley Ann Dunham, and at one point she had a picture taken in July 1961 when she was supposed to be in her third trimester, according to the official story. Yet in the picture she doesn't look pregnant. And what's more, it says here CIA did a DNA test on the grandparents using saliva from glasses, which conclusively rules out any relationship between Obama and the Dunhams. Whatever his DNA is, it's very well protected. I recently found out from Janet Phelan, investigative reporter, that Obama has people following him around, picking up any traces of his DNA that might be left behind, as in little bits of hair or saliva on a glass. So for some reason, they're very careful to make sure that nobody gets hold of his DNA. Like, why all this confusion and secrecy? Well, some of the answer may lie here. Freeman says Obama is a clone of an Egyptian pharaoh. I know this sounds about as out there as it can get, but when you look at King Akhenaten, he does bear an uncanny resemblance to Obama. And this is King Akhenaten's wife, who happens to look like Michelle Obama. And the daughters of King Akhenaten and his wife look strangely similar to the daughters of Barack and Michelle Obama. So, you know, maybe they were all cloned from the DNA of this Egyptian pharaoh and his family, and that's why he's not related to his supposedly biological mother and her parents. And another really weird thing about Obama is that he's Rh negative. Not only is he Rh negative, but every president since Eisenhower has been Rh negative, and also an awful lot of Hollywood celebrities, like all the musicians from the late 1960s, 1970s, like peak of the rock era, Mick Jagger, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, oh, even Charles Manson, John Lennon. And it is very strange that all these presidents were Rh negative, because only 15% of white Western Europeans and their descendants in North America and Australia are Rh negative. And for Obama, it's even, you know, much stranger, because in sub-Saharan Africa, the rate of Rh negative is 1 in 3,000. So, and you have to have two Rh negative genes to be Rh negative. So he'd have to get one from his mother. Okay, there's about 15% chance. And he'd have to get one from his father. So if it's who they say he was, then it would be like 1 in 3,000. So the chance that Obama would be Rh negative is very, very low. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he's president and he's Rh negative. Well, you know who else was Rh negative? The Egyptian pharaohs. Well, a lot of them, including King Akhenaten. According to this article, King Ramses II was Rh negative. He was a B negative, and King Akhenaten and his family were all Rh negative, as was King Tut. So it would kind of make sense that if he was a clone of Akhenaten, well, that would explain why he was Rh negative. Again, I know it sounds really far out, but you got to understand, like, the chance that he would be Rh negative to begin with is really, really remote. And then you look at all this other stuff, the birth certificate, this mysterious pregnancy, no DNA connection to his supposed biological family, and his uncanny resemblance to King Akhenaten and Michelle Obama and the kids too, you have to consider that maybe he really is a clone, and that he was chosen on purpose. It's not a coincidence that he's Rh negative, and that's why he's the president. And that's not all that's weird about Barack Obama's life. Mars visitors Basiago and Stilling confirm Barack Obama traveled to Mars. So as they explain here, there's Andrew Basiago, who is a lawyer from Washington, D.C., who served in DARPA's time travel program Project Pegasus in the 1970s. And there's fellow chrononaut William B. Stillings, who was also in the Mars program. And they say that Barack Obama was in that program with them as a teenager, and that he time traveled to Mars. You don't believe it? Well, you know what? I probably wouldn't believe it either if I just heard somebody like, I don't know, me tell them that. But as it happens, I have spoken to both Andrew Basiago and William Stillings, and in my opinion, they're not crazy and they're telling the truth. Andrew Basiago is he's a functional person. He's a lawyer in Washington. He's a well-respected person. He was in the DARPA program. So I guess it's up to you whether you want to believe them, but I wouldn't write it off as crazy talk. And it would kind of make sense that if you were going to resurrect King Akhenaten, you'd probably send him to Mars. He would be a good candidate for something like that. So this Mars traveling clone of Akhenaten, Rh negative. There's another thing that you might want to know about him. Well, he has this very strange scar on his head that looks like maybe he had brain surgery. And I know it's from Weekly World News, but don't let that fool you. See, you probably get more truth from Weekly World News than you get from like Fox News or MSNBC. I mean, these tabloids have been telling us for years that Sasquatch is real, aliens are real, the president meets with aliens. And I think some of us are starting to realize that that's in fact true, and that these papers were telling us the truth all along. It's just they make it look like it's so wacky, and just the reputation of the paper is so bad. It's like they're telling you the truth, they're giving it to you in plain sight, but making it look like a lie. So looking at all this mountain of evidence, it's kind of hard for me to just say, meh, Obama's probably just a regular guy. I mean, obviously he's not the Antichrist, so, he's probably, nothing else special either. I'm sure he didn't go to Mars, right? I can't do that because, if you're really being objective, you have to admit this stuff adds up. Birth certificate, something's wrong with it. The family history doesn't make sense. He looks like an Egyptian pharaoh. He's got Rh negative blood. He's been to Mars. He's got maybe a chip in his brain. I mean, come on, people. Look at the big picture. So, well, let me know what you think. Leave me your comments. And thanks for listening to me. And I'll see you next time.